On March 30th, 2020, I fled Los Angeles in hopes of finding higher ground in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of green chili, senior citizens, and psychedelics, where I continue to live out the same day over and over and over again as I search for answers, search for anything. So far, I have only found that even in all this isolation, I still find ways to embarrass myself repeatedly. Most of the stories could have been buried deep within my soul and no one would ever known, but for some reason, I feel compelled to share them. Maybe I share them because I want you to learn from my mistakes. Maybe because I haven't told a joke in forever and am desperate for attention. Maybe I'm just not very bright. Shit, did I leave the stove on back in LA?
Thank you for coming. Oh, I'm so winded from that. Oh my God. Oh, not a good start. Good Lord. Oh, we're in a mountain altitude and I climbed 3 steps, so I apologize. Wow. Oh my God, this is so exciting. And so terrifying. This is unlike any show I will ever be a part of. Thank you guys so much for coming. I got a lot to say up top. First of all, thank you for being here, whether you're here in person or at home. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have not touched a microphone in 7 months. That is, like a lot of comedians, the longest break by far. So this is insane. I think I'm just having a mild heart attack as we do this. But about a month ago, I thought, why don't I record a quarantine-themed album special in front of a tiny crowd in a safe place? And, you know, normally in the olden times, it takes about a year or so to write and test out the material and go out on the road and see how it goes. But for whatever reason, I thought, how about we just do it next month? Why not? What could go wrong? Untested material written in a month in a hurry to be performed in front of a tiny crowd. Nothing could go wrong. I had this panic thought, you know, the reason why I wanted to do it was, what if I record this and then we release it, and then when it's released, quarantine is up, and then nobody gives a shit about my special. You know what I mean? What a dumb thought. Because first of all, we're probably in this forever, you guys. Sorry. And also on top of that, like what? Like I don't want quarantine to end. Of course I want quarantine to end. That was really a stupid thought. Selfishly, here's to hoping we're still in the shit show for when this is released. Because I want this to go well. Watch me record like 12 quarantine specials and all this, you know, like it's the year 2032 and we gather here, the same group every year. And I update my material all about quarantine. But my hair is even crazier. My beard's down to my knees. All of you guys are crying while I'm just up here screaming. Not even words, just screaming. Ah! Ah! And then every once in a while, one of you yells out, I miss my family. Hope this is fun. I hope I'm not too choppy since I learned this material up until about 10 minutes ago. Especially like if, you know, I invite a lot of family and friends and a lot of people I respect virtually. Not that I don't respect the people here. If you haven't seen me perform comedy before and this isn't going well, normally I'm fantastic. This is a tightrope I have never walked. Let's have some fun. Let's dive in. And now for an hour of me talking about politics. I'm joking. That's not going to happen. It's mostly just embarrassing stories that happened to me during the apocalypse. And I could have gotten away with all this stuff, but instead I thought, let's share these embarrassing stories with strangers. So let's do this. I normally live in Los Angeles, but I'm coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico, my favorite city in the whole world. It's amazing. Except for when quarantine's over and I can tour to your city, then of course your city is my favorite city also. Let's just talk about Santa Fe for just a second though. Let's be honest. You guys have handled this very well comparatively. You guys are doing great. And I'm not saying you're not affected. Everyone is affected, but you guys comparatively are doing fantastic. Every day I've been here, I've seen a double rainbow. So you're not doing too bad, you know? Meanwhile, like people in Oklahoma are beating each other up at Walmart over antiseptic or whatever. But you guys here are like, I didn't see a triple rainbow today. What's wrong? Quarantine sucks. You guys are doing great. Like a lot of you, I didn't think that this thing was as real as it was at the very beginning. I'm sure it took some of you like some convincing because it felt like science fiction at first. Like, this can't be happening. And also, like a lot of you, the moment that I knew that it was very real was when Tom Hanks got it. That's when I knew we can't mess around with this. If the star of Joe versus the Volcano can get this, then anyone can. I didn't know angels can contract viruses, but here we are. And like a lot of you, I argued with my parents over safety at the beginning. Did anybody have that issue? Did anyone? Yeah, like, oh my God, I was trying to so hard. It was exhausting at the beginning. I would try to talk to my mom about safety. And before, oh my God, my parents just popped up on the virtual part right as I'm talking about them. God damn it. Before quarantine, my parents moved from the town I'd grown up in to a small town in Texas they absolutely love. And they were so excited about it. They were like, we're going to go out every night. We're going to tear this town apart. We're going to party every night. And I was like, yes, I was excited for them. I was like, you guys should do that. You've earned it. Go paint the town red. Go out every night. And then a week later, quarantine dropped. And I went from go out every night to never go out again. Leaving the house is bad. And now, luckily, like they're doing all the right things. They're being very safe. But those first couple weeks, I thought they were messing with me. You know what I mean? Like, I would call my mom to check on them, make sure they're being safe. And my mom would be like, no, we haven't left the house at all. Well, we did go to a barbecue. There are only like 80 unmasked people, but we got to get to know our neighbors. And I'm like, Mom, you got to be careful. And I would like lecture them like, you got to be safe, you know? And then a few days later, I'd call the check back. And my mom would be like, no, I'm telling you, we listened to you, we're playing it safe. And then they would be like, oh, but we did go to a rave last night. But I only shared my pacifier with DJ Luscious one time, and he seemed cool. By the way, have you ever tried Molly? What are you talking about, Mom? You don't even like that kind of music. Why are you going to raves? Our brief stint in LA quarantine was pretty okay, I guess. While everybody else was panicked and fighting over pasta and toilet paper as soon as they found out quarantine was dropping, I played it as cool as a cucumber. I knew exactly what to do. I went out immediately and stocked up on all the booze, weed, and mushrooms I could find. And I stole 2 rolls of toilet paper from a Denny's in Glendale. So my wife is quite lucky to have me in a time of crisis. I know exactly what to do. As far as the weed is concerned, I hadn't smoked weed in 2 years prior, but I thought if we can't go outside, I will travel inside my head, you know? I just thought I'd cover my bases. What if I want to start smoking weed in quarantine? And thank God I did, because I have been high ever since. It's great. As for the whole toilet paper thing, what the hell was that? We as Americans immediately proved how shitty and vain we were. Like within 2 days of quarantine, there were entire cities that didn't have toilet paper. 2 days. That's crazy. Do you remember the levels of fear at the beginning of all this? Yes. If you go outside, you die. And forget about ever wiping your ass again. It's not gonna happen. Oh, man. I remember being so panicked about what if I never see toilet paper again? What will I do? Do I use a leaf blower? Drag my ass on the carpet like a dog? My mom at that time sent me a video of how to make a bidet out of an old squeezable ketchup bottle. You know things aren't going well when your mother is reteaching you how to clean your asshole. That's bad. I still got caught up in the hysteria, though. Like, I couldn't help it. There were moments there at the beginning where I was hiding rolls of toilet paper in the back of the closet from my own wife. But, you know, if there's one of us that needs to wipe their ass, it's me, okay? My ass is a disaster. You should see it. Woo! And I know that's selfish, but before you go getting angry at me, let me just tell you that I know she was also doing that at that time because I saw her asshole back then and it was spotless, okay? You could eat off of it. And I know that it hasn't been a problem in a while, but every once in a while I'll still stock up on a few extra rolls of toilet paper just in case. Future generations are going to make fun of us because we're all going to have toilet paper closets. It's going to be weird. Back in my day, we valued toilet paper. And then one day it was all gone. So you need to cherish wiping your buttholes. Oh my God. You couldn't get toilet paper. You couldn't get pasta. My wife was using string cheese as a tampon. It was weird, you guys. My in-laws have a house here in Santa Fe, which is why we came to be here. And this shithole. We thought we would be here for 3 weeks. 3 weeks we thought we'd be here. We have been here for 7 months. And we packed as if we would be here for 3 weeks. I barely packed any clothes. I just got this suit for the special. The only other things that I brought all have Nicolas Cage's face on them. I swear to God, I have a mild obsession. I brought 5 shirts with Nicolas Cage's face on them and 2 pairs of pants that are covered in his beautiful mug. I thought for 3 weeks that would be hilarious. But 7 months later, I'm just that creepy Nicolas Cage guy in Santa Fe. Her parents were so gracious, to have us here. And they immediately from the start were like, make our house your own. Get yourself as comfortable as possible. And look, I love all their classy paintings, but I immediately ripped them all down and replaced them with Con Air and other various Nicolas Cage 1990s action movie posters. I did them a favor. The value of their house has gone up. I cut out my face and put it in all of their family portraits all over the house. I've been wearing all of her parents' t-shirts as pants, and while I watch Designing Women, I have jerked off into every one of her dad's socks. I teabag everything in sight. I do feel at home. Thank you. When we first got here, I was so gripped in fear, we both were, that we couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. There were just so many unknowns. Is everyone we know gonna die? How long are we gonna be in Santa Fe? We were freaked out of our minds. And one thing that did not help that at all was the fact that their house is haunted. That sounds crazy. I wish that wasn't real, but my in-laws' house has a ghost in it. Strange things are afoot. I used to think that was so cool, but we were so gripped in fear at the time, I started to develop some irrational fears, like I would definitely be murdered by a ghost, And by the way, her parents had a priest come to the house one time and try to locate the source of the ghost, and which sounds insane, but he immediately said, it's this 600-year-old wooden carving of a saint. And if you see that carving, you will be like, yeah, that's for sure haunted. I guess what I'm saying is, if you decorate your home covered in eerie religious artifacts, don't be surprised if your house is haunted, because every religious artifact does indeed look haunted. I butchered that joke to shit. God damn it. Thank you. Maybe we pick that up later. After a month of safely quarantining, my wife and I branched out, and we went to our favorite restaurant in the whole world, Tsuke Village Market, you guys. Yeah. Best food on the planet. It's so good. At that point, it had been over a month since we had seen another human. It was so strange. So the thought of like waiting around for our food and seeing other people was so freeing. But the first stranger we came across was this woman that cornered us and talked to us about frozen semen and Irish wolfhounds for 30 minutes. It was as if she too had not been around humans in quite some time and forgot how to talk to people. It immediately made me think, well, we don't miss everybody. You know what I mean? Like, we were happy to take our food back afterwards and go back into quarantine. The second stranger we came across, my wife at the time had a foot injury, and I happened to mention that to him, and he happened to mention that he was a podiatrist. And I was like, wow, that seems to work out perfectly. We must be in the right place. And then 30 minutes later, he gave us some LSD. And that's when I knew we were in the right place. The town podiatrist gave us acid, you guys. Santa Fe is kick-ass. Holy shit, you guys do it right. I remember when we first got here, we were like so panicked. We were like, what do we do if we run out of our drugs? What a dumb thought. It would be harder for us to find someone that couldn't offer us drugs. I think I've been offered acid by every citizen here so far. There was even a baby that offered me acid at one point. A really cool Ryan Gosling looking baby. We thought if nothing else, we could just smoke weed and do acid until we teleported to the other side of quarantine. There was a day a while back, days ago, months ago, a year ago. I don't know anymore. What is quarantine time? This sucks. There was this day where I had eaten some bad bean dip the night before. And I paid for it the next day. My wife warned me. She's like, I don't think you should maybe eat that. I was like, I got this. It's fine. I was on the toilet the whole next day. It was so bad. I was so sick. And I hated it, of course, for quite some time. And then several hours in, I was like, you know what? This is kind of nice. It's breaking up my Groundhog Day. Changing things up. Just hanging out in the bathroom. Haven't spent this much time in here. It was lovely. So that's a little quarantine tip for you. If you just want to shake things up a bit, eat some bad bean dip. And there you go. You're welcome. I had to go to the dentist early on. I had a cavity, and I was like kind of dreading it because, you know, going to have somebody stick a drill in your mouth during this time seems a little terrifying. But I thought, why not? I had to do it. It was hurting. So I get in there, and they were great. It was very safe. But it was kind of like the bean dip situation where I had a moment where I was like, you know what? This is kind of a nice vacation for my head. So now, because of COVID, my hobbies have become eating bad bean dip and getting my teeth drilled on. So that's neat. There was a moment, by the way, at the dentist's office where the dentist pulled up a computer screen and then pulled up YouTube. On YouTube, as soon as I saw that YouTube was pulled up, I was like, does this guy not know what the fuck he's doing? I freaked out. I was like, oh God, if he types in how to fix a tooth, I'm going to lose my mind. They had just gotten a new computer program that he did not know how to use. So that's why he was doing that. But that's when I realized if I were ever a dentist, I would for sure do that every time. Every visit, mid-visit, I would just say, boy, I am stumped. And then pull up YouTube and type in how to fix a tooth. And then make sure a video of a redneck pulling the tooth out of a raccoon's mouth showed up. You know, that'd be fun. They would hate you at first, but then I think they'd appreciate it. The average age here is 142. And when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, rest in peace, I had a friend call me to tell me the news. And I was like, you know what? You got your news wrong because I just saw her 12 times at the grocery store. She is alive and well. I see her all the time. I saw her today. What's crazy, though, is all the old people here are ripped and beautiful. It's nuts. You'll be on a hike somewhere and some 184-year-old will blow by you and you'll just see this flash of turquoise and they're somehow rippling calves. And you're like, what was that? That was beautiful. They must have something in the green chili here to keep people young. It's like we're quarantining in the movie Cocoon. It's crazy. And because of all this, I have really gotten into old people porn. Seniors wearing diapers, eating porridge off each other's chests while they listen to Al Jolson. It's hot. You should check it out. The wildlife here in Santa Fe is a little bit different than Los Angeles, believe it or not. They have bobcats here, mountain lions. There are these 8-foot-long red demon snakes that haunt me in my dreams every night. Saw one of them a little while back, and I texted the neighbors a picture. I was like, is this thing poisonous? And they're like, no, you're fine. And then a few minutes later, they're like, oh, but they are super fast and aggressive, and they can stand on their tail like a cobra. And I was like, but we are fine because of that? Okay. They have bears. There are bears here, not just any bears, roided up bears on steroids. They are insane. And as soon as we got here, we were told that there were bears in our neighborhood. Again, because we were so gripped in fear at the time, I just assumed, oh, cool, we went a couple states over so I could be eaten by a bear. That's neat. It's fun to be worried about a virus that can kill you at any moment while you quarantine with crazy, creepy dolls and a poltergeist, and a bear might kill you at any second. Oh, I want to talk about the most dangerous animal that resides here in Santa Fe. That's right, the hummingbird. Oh, man. I hate hummingbirds with so much passion. Good Lord. People think they are these mystical, beautiful creatures, but they are anything but. They are soulless, territorial assholes that will eat their own and not think twice about it. I looked up what they eat. It's nectar, insects, and newborn babies. So that's real. So much bloodshed has happened over my in-laws' petunias. It's like an aerial battleground. It's insane because of these tiny, evil, flying fucking daggers. Fuck hummingbirds. That felt really good to talk about. I think it's great how sober and disciplined everybody's been during this time, you know? That's a good uproar. I love it. It's a good group. Yeah, I'm clearly joking. Most people have just considered it totally normal to be blitzed 24/7. Every Zoom call I've been on that has more than 4 people is just a complete disaster. It's going to be crazy on the other side of this when the hospitalizations from the virus are finally down, but then there's a spike in hospitalizations because everyone's liver has failed them. We're all going to need liver transplants from children. Like, look, kid, just give me a transplant. You don't need that fucking thing. We ruined your future long ago. Do you ever think about what you would be doing on a certain day had it not been for quarantine, you know? Looking at the calendar in general is just such a bummer. Like, so many stand-up dates, like touring dates that came and went. Concerts I was very excited about came and went. But this next thing I'm about to talk about was definitely the biggest event canceled that just bummed me out the most. So I was all set for a tour in April, opening for my good buddy, brilliant comedian, Dan Cummins. And in the middle of the tour, Dan was going to be performing at Tony Romo's 40th birthday party. I am a lifelong Dallas Cowboys fan, and Tony Romo is my favorite player all time. I was so excited for this, and the pandemic took that from me. And look, I know Dan was going to be the one performing at this party, but I also know that afterwards he would go up to Dan and say, that was great. And then he'd be like, hey, who is this guy? And Dan would say, that's Doug. He's really awesome. And then Tony would ask, is he also a comedian? And he'd be like, yeah, he's really, really funny. And then Tony would be like, hey, Doug, good to meet you. Why don't you tell me a joke? Now, normally, I hate that in real life, you know? But this is Tony freaking Romo. So I then would have said, do you think butterflies have tattoos of annoying drunk women on the lowers of their thoraxes? He was going to bust out into so much laughter, and the bromance would begin. There were going to be so many celebrities and Hall of Fame players at that party. But the rest of the night, he was just going to be thinking about me because I'd be winning him over with my crazy stories. The Mario Lopez's and the Jerry Rice's of the world would disappear. The rest of the night, it's all Doug Mellard. Party would start to dwindle, and we wouldn't realize how late it was until at the end of the night, as the sun came up, you know? We would have just talked about so many things, and I would just assume that most of them were half-drunken promises. But no, Tony is a man of his word. We were going to start that band. Eardrum Assault, where I'm on the harmonica and Tony's on the cymbal. And we were going to do a world tour. And when the world tour was over, we were going to celebrate on a beach drinking Coronas just like in his kick-ass commercials. And forget about our candle franchise we were going to start. Tony Aroma's House of Candles. Oh, man. That was going to be so successful. And the pandemic ruined it. Somewhere on an alternate timeline right now, I am on a yacht throwing a football with Tony Romo eating Go-Gurt. I am bummed about that. You know, there are a few people outside of Tony Romo that I do miss. But, you know, everybody's so concentrated on who and what they miss that they really should be thinking about who and what they don't miss. You know what I mean? Like recently, good example, my wife posted a picture of our dog online wearing a mask. And so many people attacked our dog for that. And did I mention she's a dog? She's a dog. She's a very cute dog. I don't understand this. The way that they would write these responses, I just assume that they think our dog is the actual person responsible for the post. There was a guy that wrote, "Quit making your dog push her leftist agenda." Guys, our dog's agenda is to eat and poop. That's it. Also, she's a dog. I think I've gone over that. It's just, you know, we miss people, yes, but there's also those people out there. Do we really want to see all those idiots, you know, like strangers in I told you the first person I saw just talked to me about frozen semen and Irish wolfhound. So just remember, we don't miss that, you know?
How come you didn't invite her to this party?
Had to make a crucial cut. And strangers in general. Oh my God. Like, do you really miss being in a lift that's really long with someone pushing Jesus on you or lecturing you on the 12 different styles of house music, which that really happened, by the way. I had one Lyft driver tell me that her 3 children don't talk to her anymore, and then she cried for the rest of the ride. That really happened. So anytime I get bummed that I haven't seen my parents yet, I just think, well, it's also nice that I'm not in a Lyft right now telling a woman that the reason her children don't talk to her is because she's a huge fucking bummer, you know? On the other side of quarantine, we're all going to be relieved at first, you know? It's going to be such a relief to see everybody. But then we're going to go out into society and talk to like 3 or 4 strangers and immediately want to go back to quarantine. I do miss a few people outside of one Antonio Ramiro Romo.
And Nicolas Cage.
But it's been so long, I don't even remember what they look like, you know? So now if I'm trying to picture a friend's face, I just picture Morgan Freeman, because I'll never forget what Morgan Freeman looks like, but my friends and family, I don't know. And look, I hope the reunion is sooner than later, because I really miss all these people. But also, my friend Dave, he has an 8-year-old that's gone on a bit of a growth spurt during this. And my friend Dave has made fun of me for being short since the 3rd grade. If Gavin comes out on the other side of this taller than me, I will never live that down. So we need to get that vaccine fast. That's the number one reason. I think so many people think that this reunion on the other side is going to be so perfect and beautiful and glorious. But I don't think they've really thought it through. We will all have just gone through the most stressful, anxious time of our lives collectively. You know, we've all been eating garbage and drinking ourselves blind and giving ourselves haircut. We're going to be fatter, more wrinkled, grayer. and not know how to talk to anybody. You know what I mean? We're all just going to be a bunch of golems roaming the earth, talking to each other about Irish wolfhounds and semen. It's going to be terrible. Butchered that one too! I've never had this much adrenaline for a show. It's insane.
We were worried about you.
I'm worried about me. It's weird. Like, a lot of people always wonder what they would do with extra time, and a lot of people have extra time on their hands. It's interesting to see. Like, my wife, for instance, she took up knitting for a second. She wanted to do that as an escape. She thought it'd be relaxing, but it was anything but. She did it for 3 days, and it was a dark 3 days. We do not like to revisit that. She is very gifted at a lot of things, but knitting is not one of them. I would know she was knitting because from another room I would just hear, fuck, fuck. And then she would vent to me, knitting fucking sucks. And then it would drive her to drinking, and then that didn't help her knitting. It was a vicious cycle. I don't miss it. Meanwhile, one hobby I have taken up is late night high and or drunken shopping online. I know a lot of people are doing this. A lot of us are filling voids. If we can't go do something we love, then we're going to buy something baffling. The decisions I've made are ridiculous. One day in the mail, I got a bottle of smelling salts and a bow and arrow. What? I was probably watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves again. Thought I'd take up archery. I don't know. My favorite purchase during all this, I bought a pair of Heelys. Do you guys know what Heelys are?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They are shoes that have wheels on them in case you want to walk or skate. They're also targeted at 8-year-olds, and I own a pair. We live on a dirt road, too, so like I can't even really use them. It's torture. I've got these sick-ass Heelys I can't even use. Quarantine is just dragging on slower now. I actually did use them at Target for like 30 seconds, and I pulled a muscle in my back. And again, I know I'm not alone. I've had a lot of friends tell me about weird shit that they've bought online during all this to fill their voids. But my favorite person that's doing this is my pal Mikey. Now, Mikey one day texted me that he had bought for his mother a $400 authentic ice Game of Thrones Sword of Eddard Stark replicant sword. He sent me a picture of his 70-year-old mother holding a 30-pound sword longer than she is, and she looks totally confused, which she should be, because what the fuck? And I was like, Mikey, why'd you do that? He's like, I don't know. She's never seen Game of Thrones. I was so high. That's not my favorite purchase by Mikey, though. Oh, God bless you, Mikey. Thank you, buddy. He recently bought an authentic ocarina. If you don't know what an ocarina is, congratulations, you're not a total nerd. It is a flute featured in the game Legend of Zelda that is played by elves. And by the way, how is that sword and that flute played by elves authentic? That makes no fucking sense to me. Those worlds don't exist. This coming from a guy that has a pair of Heelys. That is a layered nerd burn, you guys. But whenever times are really tough during quarantine, I just picture my buddy Mikey playing his little elf flutes, playing little quarantine blues away, and all the troubles vanish. There are people out there, believe it or not, that are taking this time to better themselves. And, while I'm buying Heelys drunk online, they're out there learning calligraphy or whatever. While people are gaining weight, they're losing weight. And I just want to take a second to say to all those people, fuck you.
Yes!
That is not what this time is for. Oh my God, that drives me crazy. Do you really think that when this is over and you get to see everybody you've ever loved, you're reunited with your best friend, Phil, for the first time in over a year. And all Phil has been doing is eating chili dogs and getting high and watching Call of Duty. And you've lost 50 pounds and learned karate. Do you really think he's going to be impressed? No. That's going to be a slap to his face after a year of slaps to the face. So cut it out and get on a steady diet of gin and macaroni like the rest of us. Oh. This is a story I probably shouldn't share, but I'm going to. Having Tony Romo's friendship robbed of me was a pretty bad low point during all this. But another low point, I will say the second lowest point for me. Some of you, after you hear this, will argue that it's definitely the lowest point. There was a day where I had a pretty drastic hangover. Sometimes if you have one too many drinks in a dry, high-altitude climate, it can have pretty horrible effects. So the next morning, I was on the toilet having what I can only describe as not so fun booze poopies and really not having a good time. Really, really sick. And in the middle of this session, I started to feel sick in another way. I could feel the vomit coming up my throat. It's 6 a.m. on the toilet, and I had to be very calculated with this next move. What do I do? I had to think like a ninja, so naturally, I threw up on my feet while having diarrhea. There were no witnesses. I could have gotten away with that, but I told you guys. And I told so many of my friends immediately that next morning. I didn't have to do that. I would not have told people that before quarantine. And had I told anyone, they would have thought I was the biggest loser, you know? But during quarantine, you tell somebody you throw up on your feet while you're having diarrhea, they're like, dude, I did that Wednesday, okay? You're not special. Everybody throws up on their feet. Oh, man. So a friend of mine, this is a story that I feel like really encapsulates all of 2020 perfectly. Here it is. A friend of mine was very down one day and, you know, just having a bad quarantine day, like are a lot of days. And she's so sad, you guys. She's so sad. And she looks out the window and all of a sudden this bunny hops over. And then the bunny, it's a mama bunny. She has 4 baby bunnies hopping behind it, right? And it's so cute, and she's so excited. She grabs her 3-year-old son, and she lifts him up, and she points at the bunny, and it's this moment where he's so happy, which makes her so happy, and all the shit in 2020 just melts away, you know? But then this hawk comes down and lands on one of the bunnies, one of the tiny baby bunnies, and it pecks on its head repeatedly until it gives in to death. And then the hawk takes the baby bunny and flies away into the air for the mama bunny and the siblings to witness. And that sums up 2020 perfectly. Thank you so much, you guys have been... No, I'm just joking. What if I ended on such a bummer story? Hey, guys, thank you. It doesn't get better. Have a good night. We're all going to die. Oh, Jesus. I'll land on something a little bit sweeter. But before I get to that, can I just talk to you guys about how much Tony Romo would be loving this? I mean... He would have been standing and applauding the whole show. And then afterwards, he would come up to me and he'd give me a big hug, which would be fine because we would have been in a bubble with each other since April. So that's fine. And then he would have like congratulated me and opened a big bottle of fancy champagne. And then he would whistle and his pet Pegasus, Baby Doink, would fly up and we'd hop on the back and fly off to Valhalla to party for 72 hours. And just want to say thank you for that, Tony, and I know you're listening to this in your heart, so I appreciate it. Okay, so here we go. Guys, this next story might make you feel better about quarantine just a little bit if you think back to it later. I have a friend that's a nurse that works in a hospital, And a little while back, she had a gentleman come into the hospital, and he had his penis stuck in a Mountain Dew bottle. This is all very, very true. And he was obviously just taking their slogan, "Do the do," way too literally. By the way, he lost all function of his pee-pee after surgery. Can you imagine? Like, good Lord. Oh, man. What if one of you was like, I can't imagine. It happened to me. Oh, nobody else? Oh, sorry. But that wasn't the only strangely accident-prone man that came in that day. She also, a few hours later, all true, a gentleman came in with a croquet ball stuck up his ass. Yeah. And you know that the Mountain Dew guy, despite being totally embarrassed, had a second where he was like, that guy showed me up. Guys, I looked up the regulation size of a croquet ball is. It's 3 5/8 inches in diameter. And he had it up there for 4 days. And yeah. And I just have so many questions. You know, obviously the big one being, how did this happen? I like to picture a couple Southern gentlemen wearing Argyle sweaters and pork pie hats, knocking back some glasses of lemonade as they play croquet. But eventually things get very heated. And it just comes to like two guys yelling at each other like, that did not pass the non-playing side of the wicket. Point doesn't count. I told you, if you pulled that shit one more time, I would shove a croquet ball right up your ass. Well, fair is fair, Randy. This is a gentleman's sport, and I have not honored it as such. And then he just bends over, and we know what happens next. Now, supposedly, croquet ball up the ass guy and Mountain Dew guy don't know each other. But there is no way you can convince me of that. There is no way they don't know each other. This was a tiny town of Mississippi, and it was in one day. But they came in at different times. They staggered it by a few hours, which means they had to plot this thing. They had a conversation. They were like, okay, let's get our story straight. You were hosting a dignitary, and in his country, it's customary to play croquet naked. And the grass was slippery, and at one point you just slipped, and you fell in the croquet ball. It happens. They'll get it. And me, the reason I had my penis stuck in the Mountain Dew bottle, well, I didn't know what a thirst trap was, and I was curious, and I just thought maybe that was And then they drew straws, and one of them had to wait a few hours with a croquet ball up his ass. And I would like to think that there was a third gentleman there, you know, that just didn't go in because he was too embarrassed. He's like, I can't be associated with this. So somewhere out there, there is a guy in Mississippi that just has a light bulb up his ass for the rest of his life. And every time he farts, it looks like he had an idea. So, you know, the next time you're really down in quarantine, just think about those two gentlemen. You're doing okay, you know? It's not all that bad. When I first heard this story, I super judged these guys. But, you know, then I thought about it, and with quarantine boredom being very real, who am I to judge anybody about anything? And, you know, if I were single, who knows what all would be up my ass, you know? Like, I'm married. There are currently 3 things up there. The audience actually wrote down their best guesses, and whoever is closest wins a Hyundai Elantra after this joke. So best of luck with that. Now, this, for my nurse friend, this was just 1 day and 2 patients, you guys. Can you believe that? Can you imagine putting your life on the line, fighting this horrible virus when idiots like this are coming into the hospital with these weird objects up their ass? I guess what I'm saying is, thank you to all the essential workers, doctors, nurses out there. So appreciated. And I hope these idiot clowns don't keep coming your way, but I know they will. And thanks to all you guys for being here, and thanks to everybody that was at home. Really appreciate it. Wear your mask, be safe, be good to each other. Thank you for coming out. It's gonna get better, I promise. Also, be careful of what you stick up your butts. Have a good night, everybody.
Maybe I'm here for another day, maybe another year. Maybe I live here now. But as long as my booze and weed supply stay strong and I can hold on to the thought, what would Nicolas Cage do? I will make it another day. Who knows what the future holds, but one thing is for certain. I will embarrass myself again. And when I do, I will regretfully share those stories as well.